Okay, my friends, it's me again, Roger, out here to rock the boat. We're going to be talking about Harvard Medical School and the Dean George Q. Daly delivers the 2021 State of the School address. Now, let me just start it off by letting him make a couple of statements, and then I want to talk about Harvard.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm delighted to be here with you, albeit virtually, for this 2021 State of the School address. A warm welcome to all of you who are watching. Whether you're near or far, your interest in the State of the School and the Harvard Medical School community means a great deal. I'm in my 5th year as dean and my 43rd year at Harvard, and yet all my local experience did not adequately prepare me for the challenges brought about by the COVID pandemic over these past 19 months, nor for the difficult decisions that we've had to make every day. This has been a tumultuous time for physicians, hospitals, educators, students, and staff, and yet we have rallied together and as a community demonstrated remarkable resilience and courage. We've maintained a laser focus on what matters most, doing whatever it takes to continue to deliver on the HMS mission to nurture a diverse, inclusive community dedicated to alleviating suffering and improving health and well-being for all through excellence in teaching and learning, discovery and scholarship, and service and leadership.
Okay, I'm just going to hold it off here for 1 second. I have a couple of statements to make and to show something about what I feel is lacking in virtually all the medical industry, and it is an industry, and I'll show you exactly why it's lacking. Okay, he's not prepared for the COVID-19 crisis. Well, they should look and see what they can do about it and then do some recommendations. I left this comment on the Harvard Medical School page here. It says, may I ask why there has been no statements whatsoever on this? Probiotics are the real solution to invasive infections. 2021, May 19th, National Institute of Health Probiotics. And here's the link, and we're going to go there in a second. But here's the conclusion at the end of the article by the National Institute of Health. It says, evidence supports probiotics' role in regulating the immune system, suggesting a definitive role for probiotics in viral infections. Probiotic supplementation could reduce the severity of COVID-19 morbidity and mortality. It could reduce it. Probiotics can inhibit cytokine storms by simultaneously boosting the innate immune system and evading the exaggerated time that it takes to adapt to the immunity, which is challenged to respond quickly to this really aggressive viral onslaught. Probiotics induce suppression of the inflammatory cytokine response may prevent both the severity and even the occurrence of ARDS, which is acute respiratory distress syndrome. That's what the people are dying from, making probiotics an attractive adjunct, which means something that they should be adding on. Inventing effective therapy will transform the impact of the pandemic on lives as well as economies across the globe. And not a single word has been said about probiotics. If you've heard one, I'd love to hear where you heard it from. Therefore, supplementation of probiotics says high-risk and severely ill patients or frontline healthcare workers might limit the infection and flatten the curve. However, there are no randomly controlled trials. Well, what is Harvard doing? Where's Harvard's place in this? They're not talking about it, and they're not doing any trials to demonstrate the conclusive evidence. However, on the other hand, circumstantial evidence supports the presumption probiotic supplementation decreases the severity of COVID-19 response, including death, mortality. He's talking about a mural they made about gold leaves going up to heaven that were people that died and how important that is. Well, I think it's more important to be talking about what could save those gold leaves from going to heaven. Okay, so here's your State of the School address from your dedicated Dean George Q. Daly at your dedicated Harvard indoctrination system. I am videotaping this comment from my YouTube about this because I asked you and you took it down, and it is very serious. Why do you not speak about the probiotics? 2021, the National Institute of Health, and there's the link to it right there, conclusion, evidence supports probiotics' role. And it goes on, and it says it can reduce the severity, the mortality, the morbidity. It reduces the ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome. It can suppress the inflammatory cytokine responses. All of these things, National Institute of Health, those aren't my words. Now, I'm going to put this comment up. They took the last one down within several minutes. Boom. Let's see if they even allow it. Okay, it's up there. Let's see what happens. I'm going to come back to this in a few minutes, and we'll find out if it's still there. But I have no respect anymore for Harvard. They're a law unto their own self. And the same thing happened with me with my fossil research. I had CAT scans, DNA, specimens, the whole 9 yards. And this guy here, David Reich, just, laughed it off and said, no, that can't, it's impossible, it can't be. I said, well, wait, I have all the stuff, I have all the evidence. He says, go to Yale. Yale won't talk to me. He said, well, that's because well, I didn't say I'm an idiot, but basically he said, well, that must tell you something. And I said, yeah, it tells me you don't care. It tells me you don't care either. And he didn't. And the last words from him was, everything you said makes sense, but it doesn't matter because if you read the books we have, you wouldn't be saying that. This is Harvard. So if you want to be hooked up with Harvard, good for you. Okay, you saw me put up the comment, and I said I am going to make this for my video, and here goes. This is an F5. We're going to refresh this screen.
Unlimited potential.
They have unlimited potential, and they need enthusiastic support. Well, guess what? They take Roger's comment down. I'm gone. All right, I'm going to let somebody else's come up here, and that's all they let. Is this one 19 hours ago? I just put 2 comments up here, and they took them both out, and they're because they tell people how to become healthy. They don't care about people becoming healthy. They want to become healthy. All of this is about money. As far as I'm concerned, this is all about money, how they're getting their financing and where their cash is coming from and how many gifts they're getting and dramatic change and so forth. Well, I can tell you what. I have no respect for these places anymore, none whatsoever. It's 100% self-interest. I'm gone. They let this guy post about you're a problem because you're destroying people's immune system. Then they'll just laugh at him and say, see, these are the kind of idiots. I come up with something that's evidential and support and came right from the National Institute of Health. They took it down. Disgraceful. Dean George Daly. Okay, here's my experience with Harvard as far as my mud fossil research goes. And I have all the evidence to support what I'm saying. And that is a goose, and it turned into stone because of nucleophilic substitution. I talked to this guy back in 2015. I had DNA, CAT scans, everything to support what I was saying about giant human beings. And I talked to him for a good long time on the phone. And by the end of it, and see, this is what he does, probing ancient DNA. He's supposed to be an investigator. Well, let me tell you something. The last words from him was, everything you said makes sense, but if you'd have read our books, you wouldn't be saying what you're saying. And I said, boy, that's fine. Find a scientist. You better find one because you're not going to find one here as far as I could tell. So I was shut down there. I have tried literally dozens of times to reach their origins of life people at Harvard. 0 responses. I have more. Here's origins of life at Harvard. They want to know all about how life started and if there's any other life around and what is life all about. Well, I came to them with CAT scans, DNA specimens. Let me show you the giant human beings. It totally freaked them out, and they refused to respond. That's Harvard. All right, there's a giant human fingertip, and yes, it is human. It has been DNA tested, and yes, you can get DNA out of rocks very easy. It was excellent quality DNA. I extracted it from an artery, and I can find arteries because they are in the exact same spot they are within us. This is the fingernail. This is the tip of a finger. That's the little pad that bumps up against your next bone. These are the blood supplies. Now, This over here, I broke off a chunk where the fingerprints are, and the prints are absolutely flawless, as is the fingernail. And here's the prints. Right there. These are sweat pores. You see up here, sweat pores? This pad comes right off just exactly like that. It peels right off. And these are the sweat pores. And my finger is as wide as one of the ridges in your fingerprint. One of the ridges is as wide as my thumb. And these are and there it is right there. Now I went up inside the fleshy area into the arterial part and got blood out of it, which I sampled it. You know, it doesn't come out blood, but it comes out like particulates. But once it's in solution, it turns into blood. All you got to do is rehydrate blood, and it very, very quickly. Now, let me show you something else here. The other one I have here that was also DNA tested human. I tried to present this to Harvard. They absolutely refused to engage. This is same grip skin peeling off. This is a left hand. If you put your hand out like that, you got the same tendon. You got the same bumper pad that runs all around your hand the same exact way. That's the little tendon that runs down. And this is your thumb goes off this way. And this is a left hand, a DNA tested, and fingertips. I have fingertips and knuckles and all this. This was way back. When I first did this was back in 2012, 13, 14, somewhere around there. And then I presented all this evidence. Nobody would even examine it. They refused to examine it. Now, is that education? No. Yale, same thing. Yale's right down the street from me. Absolutely refused. To this day refuses. Derek Briggs down there says he's the hero, and this other guy up in Harvard says he's the hero. Well, I see no heroism whatsoever with either one of those guys. They're just denialists of reality. And you're paying tons of money, as far as I'm concerned, to be hoodwinked. If somebody will not allow evidence to be shown that is extremely scientific. Here's the DNA reports. Hold on. All right, so this goes back 6 years ago. All I asked was to investigate this, take a look at the samples and so forth, that I take them up there, show them to them. Yeah, I said, it's 20 minutes down the road. Harvard's just up in Boston, or wherever they are, up there in Massachusetts. That's not far. This was done by a regular certified lab, and again, 6 years ago, I extracted the samples from the giant things that are here. So if it was contaminated, I contaminated it. I just showed you they're anatomically exact. They were CAT scanned. They are what they are. You can see the bone pattern inside of them. The DNA came out excellent quality. And this was a special, I mean, this was a very, very high quality test. And DNA, all this DNA sequences, and this was the markers or whatever they call them. And excellent quality DNA sequence obtained for the 36-inch tip. That was that big, gigantic finger. And the lung sample, which is this one over here. Hold on. I had 3 different sizes. I had 2 giants and 1 our size. This is a lung. And anybody, if he's got a Harvard Medical School and they can't tell that's a lung, they should be talking to each other. This is the depression of the heart. This died in a flood. You see how flat the back is? It died just like that in a flood, as all my stuff did, basically, because there was a great flood. This freaks them out, too, because it supports some of the biblical texts, which is that's not my motive. My motive is to find out what did happen, what is our history, what's the truth about geology. They're just totally wrong about everything. That's a goose head. That's the feather pattern in a goose's head. They call this stuff feldspar. Oh, that's just feldspar. That's feldspar. I said, well, what is feldspar? It's the stuff on rocks. I said, no, it isn't. It's the fabric that keeps everything protected from the environments. It's on what we call now interstitium, which is membranes and so forth, the fascia that's in your body. That's a bone. Yale says, oh, no, that's a rock. I said, well, it's a rock now, but it was a bone. Nope, never was a bone. Nope, just a rock. I said, how could you possibly be saying this? I have DNA, I have CAT scans, I have specimens, I have everything. I'm right down the street, and you refuse to examine it? Yep, because you're just, and you would never ever discuss it. I always worked with Armand Morgan, Derek Briggs's assistant. And I told the last words I had with Armand was, when I'm done, you guys are going to look like fools. And he said, well, I guess we won't be the only ones. And I said, no, Armand, you won't. All right, brother? Remember those words, Armand? Well, they coming back to haunt you, brother. Okay, there it is right there. Homo sapien, mitochondrial B gene, and the D loop. And this was not a cheap test, and this was not insignificant. This was extremely important, and it was I think it was the first ancient DNA test really done, and I know for 100% for certain it was the first one done on giants, and this just freaked them out. They just cannot accept reality. So this was 6 years ago. They've been teaching nonsense up there for 6 years, all over, everywhere. Because I didn't just send it to them. It was Yale, it was Harvard. I went to Johns Hopkins, and I had it out with my professor there. I took genomics there. What was his name? I can't remember. But anyway, that turned into a fight. Everywhere I've been, they just will not listen because they are the experts. You cannot talk to them. So this is what education has become. It's become indoctrination and intimidation. If I wanted to get, because I didn't care about degrees or anything, because all I wanted to do was go there and actually confront them, to be perfectly honest with you. That's the only reason. I went to University of Geneva, same thing for my physics research, and the same thing happened there. And they said, ooh, this is fantastic. This is great looking stuff. And they really did. And then they said, we'll follow you on YouTube. I said, you're kidding me. Why don't you look into this? Apparently they did, because I could see since that time that I brought it up, same time frame, because I brought all my research out at the same time, 2015. And since that time, I have seen a complete shift over. We need new physics, and we're looking into photon acceleration and muons and all this stuff, which is exactly what I showed them 6 years ago. And the same thing here. So your educational system has become nothing more than a way to extract money from kids and force them into compliance. That's what I see. And I go to the top ones. I didn't go to the little backwoods ones. I went to Harvard and Yale and Johns Hopkins and University of Geneva and all of them that were the top end places. So this is what you're getting for your money. Is forced to be compliant. And if you don't do what they tell you, you will lose everything. And if you don't stay with the program after you get out, you will lose everything again. So you are forced to make others do what you tell them to do, and they will lose everything if they don't. So it's just become one of those circular deals where I tell you, you tell the next guy. And if you go out of the box, you're going to be destroyed. Just talk to Immanuel Velikovsky. Absolutely destroyed, was 100% correct. Einstein was wrong, and by the end of Einstein's life, he basically admitted it. And he died with Velikovsky's book on his bed. Velikovsky was still destroyed. He never came out of it. But I will be vindicated one way or the other, and so will Immanuel Velikovsky. I wrote a book about him because I was so upset how they treated him. And he wrote a book called Worlds in Collision, and it was #1 on the bestseller list, and the academics forced them to take it off the shelves because they told the publisher, we'll never buy any more books from you unless you stop this nonsense. And they did. They said, no, we're not going to publish it anymore. Now, somebody else took it over, like a comic book publisher or something, I don't know. But they can intimidate anybody, and they do. And they have their peer review to back them up to say, no, we were never going to listen to you because you're not peer reviewed. And this is what happened at Fermilab. I presented my light research, which is better than theirs. I can do fission and fusion right now, and we can save the world basically from the research that I am showing. And Don Lincoln says he will not spend 1 minute to look at it because I'm not peer reviewed. And he's running Fermilab. So this is what we got from top to bottom. I'm saying it's a complete system of incompetence, driven by incompetence to the ninth power or squared or something like that. This is what we got now, man. It's just a tragedy. And the kids are forced into it because they say if you don't have a piece of paper from us, you're never going to get a good job. So you got to come here, indebt yourself, and then we will intimidate you to say exactly what we tell you to say. And then if you try to come in against us, we can peer review you right out of existence. So we are in control. You pay us or head out into the fields. That's not my kind of education. You see this? Sabine Hoffensfelder said, how close is nuclear fusion power? Well, guess what? It could have been 6 years ago. All right, here's how much they care about energy. This is laser light, just regular laser light. Would never get any more intense than that, except we put it through a Venturi. Accelerated the particle, which is a light, and the particle creates a wave because it's got a big magnetic field. We crushed the field and separated the black and white particle. This is literally photons. The black and white is the actual electron neutrino and muon neutrino. The black is the muon neutrino, exactly what CERN and Fermilab are looking for. We actually divided those particles right here at the Venturi. That's light. Light is the smallest particles basically exist. Nobody really understands it. I do because I can see it. There it is right there. And when it hits the Venturi, that particle which was pulled out of the wave accelerating, so Einstein's wrong, it is a particle. It creates a wave because it's a big round field that surrounds that tiny particle. But here the wave, the field crushes, and only the white power is allowed through. The black balls go around, and here's the evidence to prove that. This is the Venturi right here. There's the black balls. They're no longer with the white balls. That is what's called fission. Something has to divide in order to come back together and fuse back together. That's the fission portion. This is the fusion portion. So we created atomic energy. This is nuclear, which means smaller than the nucleus, smaller than an atom, smaller than a proton. These are the smallest particles that exist. And they know that. Here's what CERN wants, is the muon neutrino, the black ball, the electron neutrino is the white ball. Then they want to see the black ball stay a black ball. They want to see the white ball turn into a shower. Precisely what we did. So, do they care about that? Don Lincoln doesn't at Fermilab. And nobody else does either. CERN, University of Geneva, nobody cares. So, that's our education system. Good luck. This is so important. You have no clue. This is cold fusion. This could be done right now. And I just put this up. I put a bunch of $signs, act now. I don't want any money, but I want people to get this done. Well, that laser can create enormous amounts of energy, and we can recapture them on these new solar collection devices. They're just starting to look into the Perovskites, I believe they call them. And it's a multiple layers of transition metals that absorb electrons in copious quantities, which we will have. And that we can run any device we want, use some of it to come back, because that's 200 times. This is 200 times as explosive as the particle we started with. That's a lot of power. And all we have to use is a little bit of it to keep the laser going. This is passive. It doesn't take any energy whatsoever, and it divides the particles, creates the muons, which gives us 200 times the energy. Therefore, we put it through a device like this, and all we're getting out is raw electrons. You do anything you want with them. You can create AC, DC, high energy, low energy, lights, heating, water pumps, anything you want, and you carry it around just like this in your hand, and you could have all plugs going right in here all around, and this thing here would power a house. It would be, you could carry these into disaster areas where then we're going to have a hell of a lot of them if we don't do something really quick. The environment's out of control. Populations are out of control. The food is getting destroyed, the water's destroyed, the air is destroyed. I have a bunch of people that had contacted me just recently from places all around the world that want to save the planet, and I'm really, really hoping for some good things. Again, I don't want anything whatsoever. If you can help to save the planet and I can help you, that's my email, rspur@gmail.com. So, if you're relying on the educational system to help us out of our problems, or the government, you're putting your faith in a dead horse, because there's no incentive there other than personal interest, as I could find. Really almost anywhere. And I understand it, because everybody's got to make a living. The whole world is based on money, but the whole world is based on energy. If we can get this energy, for free. I mean, whoo, changes everything. Nobody's going to be running out of their countries and trying to find a place where they can get heat and food and clean water, and they'll be able to do it right in their own house because they'll have a house, because they'll be able to build one, because they'll have energy. Change the world overnight, and we can do this overnight because these things are sitting on the shelves. Okay, if you've been following me at all, you know that the laser we put out can accelerate light, explodes and divides the muons from the electron neutrinos. They turn into electron showers of raw electrons. 200 times more energy right here than we started with. This is where we need to be able to collect it, though. If we can't collect it, it's just wasted. So how are we going to collect it? Well, the solar panels they have now we could use, but they only get 22% efficiency. We want to collect as much as we can. Well, there's new technology here. It's called Perovskite solar cells. Now, all I'm going to do is show you quickly. There's a new, what they're going to do is this material they're going to put in here. Well, I have some other ideas on myself, and we're going to talk about that later. And it all relates to transition metal, thin films, and maybe even thick film now. But this is all about new charge collecting materials, and they got a whole bunch of money from the Department of Energy to do this research. Now, I've been cut off from everywhere. Not at any university, no government agency will talk to me because they just don't like the things I'm saying, because I have a bunch of things I'm saying that just are not what they want to have heard. So if somebody else can do this, and I have a bunch of people that contacted me now, I'm pretty excited, I got to be honest with you, because they also realize it's not going to happen if you let the experts do it. I mean, 20 years of Fermi Lab, they've produced absolutely nothing as far as I know of. If you could show me something they've done that has any good, great impact. Now, this will have a hell of an impact. If we can do this and put these type of cells here and get even 50%, so you got 100 times increase. I mean, you could take some of it and just keep it going. You got free energy, and it's coming out in the form of electricity. Electricity, you can do anything you want. There is nothing you can't do with electricity. Heating, air conditioning, lights, pumps, water pumps, transportation, flight, outer space, under the water, caves, anywhere you want. It's the absolute cat's meow. That's what they used to say, cat's meow. Now, it's something this big, you could power your house. I'm almost certain of it. But we need to be able to harvest good, and we need to use these little venturis, and it's not a big deal. And dirt cheap stuff. It's 100% solid state, no moving parts whatsoever. So, we're going to get deep into this, and the people that are talking to me about trying, any people that want to save the world. I've had people that are lighting experts, and people that want energy, and a whole batch of people got a hold of me. I'm very, very surprised, to be perfectly honest with you. So I'm going to try to work through this and see if we can get somebody to actually create a prototype and get some working models to show that we can overachieve. Because once you go over zero, you're into the Goldilocks zone. You got you're bought and paid for, and the rest is just clear profit. So let's, I'm not talking about money, I'm talking about energy. And energy is the world runs on energy. I don't care how you use it, whether it's electricity or it's gas or oil or coal or methane. I mean, you have to be able to force electrons to excite. And that's what energy is. And we excited the hell out of them.